Hello and welcome to The Big Fight. This is a week that has seen anger and outrage all across the country, and justifiably, because we've seen one of the most brutal assaults that has taken place in a long time, the brutal gang rape in Delhi in a bus. But I think perhaps the even more tragic part of it is that even this week, with anger, with outrage, with people really sounding so concerned as to what's happened, every day when you open the newspapers, there are fresh cases. Rape after rape after rape after assault. A 3.5-year-old girl being raped in a play school toilet. It's happening all the time, and it's happening way more often than it ever should be allowed to happen in a civilized society. So I guess the question that we're going to try and ask on The Big Fight is, what can we do about it? Yes, there's anger and outrage. Let's try and translate that anger and outrage into a concrete plan of action, which we can catch upon, the police, the authorities, civil society, all of us. What can we do to make sure that this stops? That's going to be our effort, and we have an absolutely fantastic panel here to help us understand the nature of the problem and, more importantly, what we can do about it. Sharmila Tagore, thank you for joining us. Actor, no further introduction than that. Vivek Gogia, Joint Commissioner, Delhi Police, looking after crime. Justice R.S. Sodhi, former retired judge, you've been with us before looking at some of the possible steps that can be taken to end assaults on women. I think it was a show we did on chemical castration a year and a half ago, where you did come and express your views in very strong terms. Mr. G. Anant Padmanabhan, who's the Chief Executive of Amnesty International, does not believe in some of the more radical punishment measures that are being spoken about right now. Dr. Kiran Bedi, again, needs very little further introduction, but with your experience in policing, you also know what perhaps we should and we can be doing. Pinky Anand, Senior Advocate, it's fantastic to have you with us. And Swar Thaunajam, who's a playwright, theatre director, has been subjected to an attack personally in her own life, and perhaps can take from that experience also to tell us what she thinks some of the answers and the solution are. Why don't I start with you, Sharmila ji? I mean, we've seen an outpouring of anger and outrage, and I'm glad to see that. I'm glad that people are outraged as to what we are seeing. But if you consider the extent to which this is happening, it is actually not the rarest of rare cases. Rape is now becoming a daily case every 40 minutes. It's happening to children. It happens to tribals. It happens in our cities. It happens in our villages. What can we do to stop it?
When you say that it's happening now, it's not happening now. It's been happening forever. It's happening at a continuous, and obviously we cannot just, I mean, this is horrendous what has happened. I mean, this has really gone way beyond. It happened in the capital. It has gone around in areas like Munirka and Vasant Vihar, and it's really, but we cannot really be selective about our outrage. We have to react to every rape. Only then we can come to some kind of solution. Because when something happens in faraway tribal places, as you're saying, it is caste based. It's sometimes during communal riots. Usually the women are gang raped. So we really need to look at it, and obviously there are long-term solutions or trying to look for solutions, and there are short-term things. But short-term is the culprits obviously have to be apprehended, brought to the legal gambit, and then due process has to happen. But the long term, we have to find out why this is happening. Okay. I mean, and that has a tremendous. We have to look at the larger issues, which is the son preference that we have, and that, I mean, if I treat my son like a prince,
changing our attitude to women in
yes,
the first
absolutely.
place is the long-term answer.
Also, like
but you're right, it could take a really long time before that happens.
The murder and rape is an extreme case, but it's also titillation, molestation, eve teasing, parading women in the in the raw, all that thing, which is a culture. I mean, that culture also needs to stop.
Okay. Vivek, if I could turn to you, there's obviously been, and it always happens in cases like this, the police also gets it in the neck, saying that I'm sure somebody should have been able to do something to stop this. We are here, at the Gargi College for Women. It is a fact that for girls and for women, especially in cities like Delhi, day-to-day life is a source of some fear, because you don't know when you're going to get teased, molested. and God forbid, cases of rape, they're not all luckily as brutal as what's happened out here, but it's that fear is part of their daily lives now.
Well, what Mr. Gold just said, it emanates from a mindset. It's not only a crime aspect, but it is also a social aspect. As far as the crime aspect of the matter goes, we are taking effective steps, but using this not only as a crime, but a weapon of offense, weapon of domination that has come out so evidently in this particular instance. That is what we need to check. Delhi police has taken many steps to instill confidence, and I think there is always a scope for improvement. Like, we keep meetings with the schools and colleges, we deploy our manpower outside. I'm sure there is one gypsy outside Gargi College and Kamala Nehru College also. We have our helplines where people can approach us, and women do not even have to disclose their identity. But what we need here is a partnership. We alone cannot operate in isolation and do the entire change. We will need support from the society, and that partnership maybe is something where it's not coming forth.
Okay, we should go into that in greater detail, and we will, what specifically can be done from the point of view of enforcement and prevention to make sure that crimes don't happen. But if I could turn to you now, Justice Sodhi, changing societal attitudes and changing the fact that rape and the abuse of women is a part of power, domination in a sense, that actually, as Shamina ji said, has happened all through history. All through history, rape has been used as a weapon in a certain sense. To get that attitude change could take years, centuries, decades, and we can't wait that long. So immediately is one of the answers to have much tougher punishment. And we've seen this constantly being spoken about, have death penalty for rapists, castration for rapists, chemical castration at least if nothing else. Is that sort of a punishment the way that tomorrow and day after somebody will think twice before they carry out an attack like this?
You know, as far as this punishment part is concerned, or the laws are concerned, I'm of the view that there are plenty of laws already in place. And punishment is life for a gang rape. And that is sufficient as far as a punishment is concerned.
Could I just ask you a clarification that when you say punishment is life for gang rape, and perhaps you can help inform all of us. I understand the punishment is different in different categories of rape. Some cases it's 7 years, some cases it's life for gang rape and the rape of a child, and then it can be life means life. You spend the rest of your life in jail.
See, these are maximum punishments. They're not minimums. They are the maximum punishment for gang rape is life, and life now means the whole life. There's no 14 years, 10 years, or 4 years. No. It is the full life, and it can't be said that life is a very trivial sentence or it's a flea bite or something. It's a substantive punishment for an offence which is equally heinous. But yes, if you say every act must necessarily meet with a death sentence, that may be a knee-jerk reaction. Then that no, death in itself is the rarest of the rare, and must command more respect than just every gang rape must meet with death. That can't happen really.
Okay, that can't happen really. Do you think it should happen? Any gang rape, there should be a really tough punishment, death sentence, hanging, something tougher than that?
I'm absolutely against death penalty.
You are against death penalty?
Yeah, I'm absolutely against death penalty. I believe that life imprisonment, if it is like effectively implemented, is, I think, the right punishment that is available within the law that we have in this country.
Okay, Hinky?
I have a response. I mean, I think what you need today, one is of course change of social attitudes that we've been talking about. But if you talk about deterrence, life is a punishment, and today it's a maximum under law for gang rape or rape otherwise. But what you really need today, it seems to be, is a mixture of stricter punishment, the strictest that is possible within the scope of law, which would mean capital punishment definitely. Now in capital punishment again, if you put a capital punishment doesn't mean that in every case you must give it. Capital punishment would only be provided for, and in a case such as this, definitely if it had been on the statute book, it would have been awarded by any court if it was so. The second real aspect of this, just linked to that
so if I can understand what you're saying, you're saying that there should be the death penalty in cases of brutal rape like this.
Absolutely. I mean, what you need to do is put the fear of God into anybody who's even thinking of such a crime. We are tired sitting back in society and saying, this is all right, this is not tough enough, a humanist viewpoint. This, I think, has chilled everybody in society, all cross sections of society, girls, boys, old, young. I mean, I don't think anybody has escaped that wrath of this incident actually attacking you, and I think happening in public. And see, gang rape again, there's a whole premeditation. Unlike another kind of rape, which there might be by a person raping a woman, a gang rape normally would be premeditated to a major extent. And that makes a lot of difference.
In this case, it wasn't necessarily premeditated.
Well, premeditated doesn't mean that you have to think at home and come there in the bus and do it. Premeditated means you decide, all right, in concert, that we are going to teach this woman a lesson, we are going to brutalize her, we are going to sodomize her, we are going to see to it that she doesn't ever lift a finger again at anybody in life. I mean, that was the basic message that was being sent by this gang rape, by these people who've done it. And so you need to see that, when Billa Ranga happened, you remember that happened a few 30 years back. At that time also children who were young children taken, raped, assaulted and then finally killed. There was a death sentence there, and it ran the death sentence through the minds of everybody for years to come. Now today we may have forgotten, some of us, but I haven't forgotten.